They didn't run for office, they bought the people who did. Imagine a handful of men so wealthy, so powerful, that their personal ambitions could reshape a nation. These weren't kings or presidents, but titans of industry, the Gilded Age moguls who turned steel, oil, and railroads into fortunes that dwarfed entire countries. And with that wealth, they set their sights on the ultimate prize, the levers of American democracy. This is the story of how men like Rockefeller, Carnegie, Morgan, and Vanderbilt didn't just build America, they bought it. Let's rewind to the late 19th century. America was a nation bursting with energy, expanding westward, and building cities at a breakneck pace. This was the age of invention, of progress, but it was also an era of brutal competition and unchecked ambition. In this chaotic landscape, a new type of king emerged, the industrialist. Take John D. Rockefeller, the master of oil. He didn't invent gasoline, but he perfected the art of monopoly. Through his company, Standard Oil, he controlled nearly every aspect of the oil industry, from the well to the refinery to the delivery wagon. How did he do it? By crushing or absorbing his competitors, often through ruthless price wars and secret deals with the railroads. But his most powerful tool wasn't a factory, it was his influence in Washington. Rockefeller and his peers understood a simple truth: regulations could kill profits. So they made sure the lawmakers were on their side. This wasn't about a simple campaign donation. This was about installing friendly faces in the Senate, the House, and even the courts. Senators at the time were chosen by state legislatures, not by popular vote. This made them prime targets. A wealthy industrialist could influence a small group of state politicians much more easily than an entire state's population. The result? The Senate became known as a millionaires' club, a place where the interests of big business were defended with fierce loyalty. They weren't just representing their states, they were representing their stock portfolios. Then there was Andrew Carnegie, the king of steel. A Scottish immigrant who rose from poverty, Carnegie embodied the American dream. His mills produced the steel that built America's skyscrapers and bridges. But behind that story of success was a darker tale of labor strife. When his workers at the Homestead Steel Mill went on strike for better wages and safer conditions, how did Carnegie's company respond? By hiring the Pinkerton Detective Agency, a private army, to break the strike by force. The ensuing battle was bloody and violent. Where was the government? Siding with the company. The governor sent in the state militia to crush the union, ensuring that the steel mills and the profits kept running. This sent a clear message nationwide: challenging the industrialists was challenging the state itself. And we can't forget J.P. Morgan, the banker who essentially owned the banks. Morgan was so powerful that he didn't just influence the government, he bailed it out twice. in 1895 and again in 1998, when the U.S. Treasury was on the verge of collapse due to financial panics. It was J.P. Morgan who organized private syndicates of fellow bankers to lend the government millions in gold, stabilizing the entire American economy. Think about that for a moment. A private citizen was acting as the nation's central bank. He held the country's financial fate in his hands. His power wasn't just economic, it was structural. When he spoke, presidents listened, not because he was elected, but because he held the purse strings to the entire nation. These men weren't operating in a vacuum. They used their immense wealth to control the narrative. They owned newspapers or held significant influence over editors, ensuring that their public image was one of benevolent philanthropists and captains of industry, rather than monopolistic robber barons. They funded universities, libraries, and concert halls actions that were genuinely generous, but also incredibly effective PR. The gospel of wealth, a term Carnegie himself coined, argued that it was the duty of the rich to use their fortunes for the public good. It was a compelling idea that helped justify their extreme wealth while distracting from the often brutal methods used to acquire it. The public, however, wasn't entirely fooled. A populist backlash was brewing. Farmers, small business owners, and laborers saw their livelihoods being squeezed by monopolies and their voices drowned out by the sound of money. This anger fueled a new political movement. Figures like Theodore Roosevelt, himself from a wealthy family, rose to power by promising to be a trustbuster. He took on the corporate giants, using the Sherman Antitrust Act to break up monopolies like Rockefeller's Standard Oil. The fight was monumental when Roosevelt's administration filed a lawsuit against Morgan's railroad conglomerate, Northern Securities. Morgan reportedly told the president, "If we have done anything wrong, send your man to my man, and they can fix it up." He saw it as a negotiation between two equal powers. Roosevelt's response was clear. He was the president, and no private citizen was his equal. It was a turning point, the beginning of a long, slow process to reclaim political power from the hands of the industrialists. This era led to landmark reforms, the direct election of senators through the 17th Amendment, which made them answerable to the people, not just state legislatures. New antitrust laws were passed to foster competition, and the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913 finally established a public institution to manage the nation's finances, ending the era where one man like J.P. Morgan could hold the economy hostage. But did the story truly end there? The Gilded Age may be over, but the debate it started about the role of money in politics is more relevant today than ever. The methods have changed. We now have super PACs, sophisticated lobbying firms, and campaign finance laws with loopholes big enough to drive a freight train through. The names on the buildings are different, but the fundamental question remains: who gets to write the rules? The legacy of the Gilded Age industrialists is a complex one. They were visionaries who built the infrastructure of modern America and philanthropists whose legacies benefit us to this day. But they also demonstrated that immense wealth could be converted into immense political power, bending the arc of democracy toward their own interests. They created a system where the line between business and government blurred, where the public good was often secondary to private profit. Their story is a powerful, cautionary tale. In America, money didn't just follow power, it became it. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this deep dive into history fascinating, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the forces that shaped our world. Let me know in the comments what you think is history repeating itself. See you in the next video.